I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's News Update. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the United Nations General Assembly Thursday, calling for a clear red line to be drawn on Iran's nuclear program.
Red lines don't lead to war. Red lines prevent war. Just look at NATO's charter. It made clear that an attack on one member country would be considered an attack on all. And NATO's red line helped keep the peace in Europe for nearly half a century. President Kennedy set a red line during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That red line also prevented war and helped preserve the peace for decades. In fact, it's the failure to place red lines that's often invited aggression. If the Western powers had drawn clear red lines during the 1930s, I believe they would have stopped Nazi aggression and World War II might have been avoided.
Netanyahu warned that Iran will have enough enriched uranium to make a nuclear bomb by next summer, and said the world must draw the red line to make Iran back down. Netanyahu also said he appreciated President Obama's statements earlier this week at the UN that a nuclear-armed Iran cannot be contained, and said that Israel and the U.S. were in discussions on how to deal with the Iran situation, and said he was confident that they would chart a path forward together.
A red line should be drawn right here. Before Iran completes the second stage of nuclear enrichment necessary to make a bomb, before Iran gets to a point where it's a few months away or a few weeks away from amassing enough enriched uranium to make a nuclear weapon.
Netanyahu's UN speech followed Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas's address to the world body, where the Palestinian president accused the Israeli government of pursuing a, quote, policy of war, occupation, and settlement colonization, of backing an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people, and of rejecting the two-state solution. Abbas said, quote, Israel is promising the Palestinian people a new catastrophe, a new Nakba. Nakba referring to the date of May 15th when Arabs mourned the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. Abbas also said the Palestinians were committed to peace, rejected terrorism, and were not seeking to delegitimize Israel. He called for a return to negotiations with Israel, but only with certain terms. Earlier this week, President Abbas had told Jewish leaders that he would show greater sensitivity to Jewish claims to Israel during his UN speech. The JTA reported on Abbas's meeting with the Jewish leaders earlier this week, where they said Abbas also endorsed Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz's formula for a return to peace talks, namely that the Palestinians would agree to resume negotiations as long as Israel freezes construction of settlements once the talks start. Dershowitz was present at the meeting, which took place Monday evening and was under the auspices of the Center for Middle East Peace. Also in attendance were Robert Wexler, the center's director and a top Jewish surrogate for President Obama, as well as Peter Joseph, who heads the Israel Policy Forum. The JTA further reported that leaders of several top Jewish organizations, including the Anti-Defamation League, the American Jewish Committee, and the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, declined to attend the meeting, reportedly at the request of the office of Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has discouraged Jewish meetings with Abbas until he gives up demanding a settlement freeze as a precondition for returning to talks. The Simon Wiesenthal Center said Tuesday that President Obama, quote, missed a key opportunity to place the demonization of Judaism on the same plane with insults to Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad during his UN speech to the General Assembly earlier this week. The Wiesenthal Center was referring to the part of the president's speech where he said that those who condemn the slander of the Prophet of Islam must also condemn the hate expressed in the desecration of Christian images and churches and in the Holocaust being denied. Rabbis Marvin Heyer and Abraham Cooper, founder and dean and associate dean of the Wiesenthal Center, respectively, which is devoted to remembering victims of the Holocaust, said that while they would not be expected to criticize the president for mentioning Holocaust denial, They believe that the president missed an opportunity at the UN to focus on the continuing demonization of Judaism, not only by Muslim extremists, but by mainstream Palestinian leaders as well. Saying, "We believe President Obama repeated the same mistake he made during his historic speech in Cairo 2 years ago. There, before Arab and Muslim leaders, he appeared to say that the only justification Jews had for their presence in Israel was the suffering they endured during the Holocaust, rather than their 3,500-year relationship with the land of Israel." And finally today, Hamas says it is launching a media boycott of Barcelona FC, Barcelona's soccer club, after reports that the Spanish league's leader gave a complimentary ticket for an upcoming soccer match to former captive Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit. The team had given the ticket to Shalit, who was captured by Hamas militants in June of 2006 and who was returned home last October under an Israeli-Palestinian deal of prisoner exchange. Hamas official Atala Abu al-Suba said that as of Thursday, no TV station in Gaza will broadcast Barcelona matches and no papers in the coastal strip will write about the club. Shalit is known to be a huge sports fan, and in June he was signed on as a sports columnist for Hebrew daily Yediot Aharonot. And that's Shalom TV's news update. I'm Teisha Bader.